A lot of people think of HDL as the good cholesterol and LDL as the bad cholesterol. However, that's really a great oversimplification of how exactly cholesterol works, because hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another Carnivore Q&A. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today's question comes from a World Carnivore Tribe group on Facebook where a member had recently asked, I've read that cholesterol isn't bad for you. What are your insights on this? Anyone has skyrocketed HDL or LDL in their blood work? Well, this is a terrific question, and with regard to cholesterol, there is a terrific book. It's called The Great Cholesterol Myth, and it was written by Jonny Bowden, and I actually reviewed it about 6 or 7 years ago, so if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to include a link right up over here so you could watch it. Today, I'm just going to be breaking down some of the cholesterol myths. With regard to cholesterol, first thing I want to go through is the types. The types, most people think of HDL and LDL, and then there's also VLDL that often gets overlooked, but HDL, that's going to be your high-density lipoprotein, LDL is going to be your low-density lipoprotein, and then VLDL is your very low-density lipoprotein. But with regard to HDL and LDL, a lot of people think of HDL as the good cholesterol and LDL as the bad cholesterol. However, that's really a great oversimplification of how exactly cholesterol works, because within HDL and LDL, we have subcategories. We have HDL2, HDL3, and then LDL-A and B. With regard to HDL2 and LDL-A, those are going to be your large, fluffy, buoyant molecules, and those, as long as they're not damaged by oxidation, they're going to be very, very protective. Whereas your HDL3 and your LDL-B, those are going to be your small, hard, dense, pellet-like molecules, and those ones are going to be atherosclerotic. So those are the ones that are really something to be concerned about. So if you look at your blood work and all you see is just the HDL number and the LDL, without knowing the pattern type, so if it's more HDL2 or 3 or LDL-A or B, you're not really going to know. You could have a high HDL, but it could be a high HDL3, which is going to be bad, and low LDL, but if the low LDL is of LDL-A, which is going to be the large, fluffy, buoyant molecules that are protective, that's actually going to be good. So you want to make sure that with regard to the cholesterol, you're not just looking at HDL and LDL, but you're also looking at the particle density as well. And then another thing with regard to cholesterol is that it's going to be self-regulating. What I mean by that is the more cholesterol you consume, the less your body is going to produce. And if you don't consume cholesterol, then your body is going to produce more of it. And the reason it's going to do that is because cholesterol is required for many of your physiological functions. A few of the functions, number one, it's going to maintain the integrity of the cell membrane, and also it's going to be required for the synthesis of your steroid hormones, your progestins, your glucocorticoids, also your mineralocorticoids, and also your androgens and estrogens. That's going to be one of the things. Another thing is it's going to be required for the synthesis of bile acids. If your body is not going to be able to produce bile adequately, then what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to properly break down fats in the digestive tract. Another thing is it's going to be required for the synthesis of vitamin D. Vitamin D, a lot of people think that it is a vitamin, but it's actually a hormone. It is a corticosteroid, and it's a very, very important hormone in the body. So if you're not properly producing vitamin D, then that's going to be a big issue. And then the other thing is there's going to be a big genetic component with regard to cholesterol. Generally, if you have a family history of cholesterol problems in your family, then yes, it is something that you may want to look out for. However, if you've never had any family history of cholesterol problems, then you don't really need to worry about dietary cholesterol from the actual cholesterol that you consume from your diet. It's really not that big of a deal. Me personally, my family, we've never had any issues with cholesterol, so for me, I don't really need to worry about cholesterol in my diet. However, if you are somebody who has had family histories of people with cholesterol issues and it has led to premature death, then definitely that is something that you would want to keep in the back of your mind. And for you personally, then dietary cholesterol, you may want to limit it a little bit, but you still wouldn't want to limit it completely. Then, one of the final things is there was a study done in the American Heart Journal, and this study was performed on over 130,000 patients, and this was, I believe, between 2000 and 2006, and what they found was, of those patients, 72.1% had LDL under 130 milligrams per deciliter. And one of the things with regard to this is those 130,000 patients, those were people who were hospitalized for heart attacks. So of those 72.1% had LDL under 130 milligrams per deciliter, and that is considered high risk if you are above 130. So these 72% of the people that had heart attacks were below the level considered high risk. And then, of that, half of those with a history of heart disease had the LDL levels below 100, and of those half, 17.6% had LDL under 70 milligrams per deciliter. And those, if you are somebody in a high-risk category, those are the target guidelines for at-risk populations. So 72% had LDL in the normal range. half of them had LDL under 100, which is what you would want to get as a target, and 17.6 had LDL under 70, which is very, very good according to the conventional wisdom. So despite the fact that most of those people had cholesterol levels below what was considered at risk, 72% of those people still had heart attacks. So clearly, if 72% of people are getting heart attacks, all have cholesterol levels below the threshold for what's considered at risk, then clearly cholesterol, looking at it by itself, isn't really a good indicator of what exactly it's going to do for you in terms of premature death. So there is more to things like heart attack and cholesterol issues than just looking at dietary cholesterol itself. And these are just a few of the reasons. Again, you can check out that video that I mentioned earlier, or just pick up the book, The Great Cholesterol Myth by Jonny Bowden. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys have any questions at all, go ahead and ask your questions down in the comment section so I can help you guys out. That's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I'm going to be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.